Long before Newport, Rhode Island became known for its quiet beaches and scenic ocean views, it was a battlefield. But the weapons used here weren't swords or guns. They were marble, gold, and limestone. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, a period we now call the Gilded Age, this small coastal city was transformed into a stage. It was a place where America's most powerful families, the titans of industry like the Vanderbilts, the Astors, and the Belmonts, came to display their wealth without limits. These were not modest summer homes meant for rest. They were massive stone palaces designed to send a clear message to the world. We are here, we are untouchable, and we will never fade. Every summer, entire households moved north. They brought trunks of custom clothing from Paris, private tutors, chefs, and legions of servants. For a few months each year, the lights inside these mansions turned on, and Newport became the most expensive zip code on Earth. But the Gilded Age was a fleeting dream. Today, the story feels very different. If you walk past the tall hedges and rusted gates of Newport now, you will find a landscape of contrasts. While some mansions remain as pristine museums, over 100 others sit empty. They are containers of secrets, slowly falling apart. Behind every crumbling stone wall is a story of ambition, rivalry, and a haunting truth that wealth is powerful, but it is never permanent. Perhaps the most daring architectural feat in Newport's history is a place called Sea View Terrace. Perched like a watchful guardian over the rocky coastline, it looks less like an American home and more like a European castle. And there's a reason for that. The man behind this estate was Edson Bradley, a whiskey tycoon who believed that wealth should be displayed boldly. In the 1920s, Bradley did something that shocked even his wealthiest peers. He purchased a grand mansion in Washington, D.C., and instead of just moving, he had the entire building dismantled, piece by piece. Every stone, every wood panel, and every imported French detail was packed, shipped to Newport, and reconstructed. Completed in 1925, Sea View Terrace emerged as a 54-room masterpiece inspired by 16th-century French Renaissance architecture. Inside, the rooms felt like museum galleries. It even featured a whispering gallery, where a voice spoken softly at one end could be heard clearly at the other, carried through the very curves of the architecture. To the public, it became famous as the exterior for Collinwood Mansion in the Gothic TV series Dark Shadows. Its shadowed towers and haunting silhouette were the perfect backdrop for stories of vampires and curses. But the real-life story took a darker turn. After Bradley and his wife passed away, the cost of maintaining such a massive estate became a crushing burden. Property taxes alone were astronomical. Eventually, the mansion was lost to debt. A palace that cost nearly $2 million to build was sold for just $8,000. It was used by soldiers during World War II and later became a girls' boarding school. Today, it stands quiet, a massive structure filled with memory and loss, waiting for its next chapter. At the far edge of Newport, where the land meets the endless ocean, there once stood a mansion that felt almost unreal. This was the Bells, originally known as the Reefs. Built in 1776 by Theodore M. Davis, a powerful copper magnate and lawyer, the estate reflected the mind of a man driven by deep curiosity. Davis was an amateur Egyptologist who spent his winters excavating the Valley of the Kings. When he returned to Newport for the summer, he filled his mansion with rare Egyptian relics, statues, and historical objects that few Americans had ever seen. The Bells was not just a home, it was a living museum. However, the magic faded after Davis's death. A painful family divorce in the late 1920s fractured the estate's soul. Like many Newport properties, it was seized by the government during World War II to be used as a military defense site. Soldiers stood watch where guests once admired ancient treasures. The final blow came in 1960. A massive fire tore through the mansion, reducing the grand wooden interiors to ash. Rather than being rebuilt, the Bells was left to the elements. Nature crept in and the salt air began to dissolve the stone. Yet, in a strange twist of fate, the ruins found a new life. Today, local graffiti artists use the surviving walls as a canvas. Vibrant colors and modern symbols now cover the same stones that once housed ancient artifacts. It is a haunting reminder that history never truly disappears. It simply changes form. In the heart of Newport's Mansion District stands a building that challenges anyone who approaches it. Belcourt Castle does not look like a vacation house. It looks like a medieval fortress. This was the vision of Oliver Hazard Perry Belmont, a man who had no interest in following social rules. Belmont was obsessed with horses. When he hired the famous architect Richard Morris Hunt to build his estate, he gave a bizarre instruction: the horses come first. Consequently, the entire ground floor of Belcourt was designed as a luxury stable. His prized horses lived in stalls with marble floors and advanced ventilation, while the humans were pushed to the floors above. To reach the grand ballrooms and salons, guests literally had to climb above the stables. Belcourt was built for power, pride, and privacy. Belmont even positioned the main entrance away from the street to show he didn't care for the approval of the Newport elite. Despite its stern appearance, the mansion was a place of innovation, featuring one of the earliest standing showers in America. Through the decades, Belcourt has been a survivor. While other mansions were torn down to save on taxes, Belcourt's thick stone walls endured. It has been a museum, a festival venue, and a private residence, a symbol of stubborn resilience that refused to disappear. If there was one house that defined Newport society, it was Beachwood. Built in the 1850s, it became the summer home of the legendary Mrs. Astor, the queen of American high society. It was in these ballrooms that the famous 400, the list of people who truly mattered in New York, was decided. If you weren't invited to Beachwood, you didn't exist in the eyes of the elite. But even the Astor's reign came to an end. By the late 20th century, Beachwood's future was uncertain. In a unique attempt to save it, the mansion was turned into a living theater. Actors in Victorian costumes portrayed the Astor family, allowing tourists to walk through a dinner party from 1881. Today, Beachwood is undergoing its most ambitious transformation yet. Purchased by Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison, the mansion is being resurrected. Ellison is spending millions to return the estate to its original 1881 appearance, even acquiring neighboring properties to recreate the grand unified estate of the past. It serves as a modern echo of the Gilded Age, showing that while old money might fade, new titans are always waiting to take their place. Finally, we look at Wild Acre. Unlike the towering palaces meant to dominate the landscape, Wild Acre was designed to disappear into it. Built in 1901 and influenced by the Olmsted brothers, the same men who designed Central Park, this estate was a masterclass in nature first, architecture second. But building so close to the ocean is a dangerous game. By the 1990s, salt air and storms had pushed the mansion to the brink of collapse. The roof sagged and the stone was cracking. It was a mansion that almost slipped into the sea. Its salvation came through a massive restoration project that moved 228 tons of stone by hand to reinforce the cliffs. The project was a collaboration between master masons, architects, and environmental regulators. Wild Acre is a rare success story, a home that was saved from the brink of extinction through patience and a deep respect for history. The abandoned and restored mansions of Newport are more than just beautiful buildings. They are lessons carved in stone. They remind us that wealth is powerful, but it is never permanent. They show us that beauty can fade, but it can also be reborn in the hands of those willing to listen to the past. When you stand near one of these estates, the silence feels heavy. Wooden floors groan under the weight of decades of vacancy, and spiderwebs stretch across corners where laughter once echoed. It feels less like entering a house and more like crossing into someone else's memory. The people who built these homes believed they were permanent. History proved otherwise. But as long as these stone walls stand, whether covered in graffiti or restored to their former glory, they tell a story of an American era that refused to be forgotten. An era that believed, if only for a moment, that they could conquer time itself.